Gentlemen, we are live tonight for another edition of NASCAR Chase for the Cup 2005, another custom schedule season race Cup Series edition, and it is at the Daytona International Speedway as we cover our road to Daytona once again. 13 days to the Daytona 500, the Busch Clash was yesterday, and once upon a time, they actually used to run that race on the high banks at Daytona. They used to do it under the lights, and they used to call it the Budweiser Shootout. That is what we will be racing tonight, the Budweiser Shootout 2004 edition on NASCAR Chase for the Cup 2005. Of course, I'll be running as Greg Biffle because that is who I am running as on this custom schedule season, and this will be a 70-lap race. I believe there are 2 segments, and I believe you have to make a mandatory green flag pit stop before the end of the race. If I remember correctly, we'll go through the rules. These are all the drivers who started on the pole in any race in 2003, so it is a 19-driver field, and the starting order is randomized, so no qualifying, no practice attempts. We just have to go into this freelance, I guess, to start Speed Weeks off on the channel. And I guess we could say Speed Weeks is upon us now because the Busch Clash used to be ran at Daytona for the longest time until this year. And now our next event is leading into Speed Weeks anyway when we have the qualifying for the 500. Not this Wednesday, but the Wednesday after this Wednesday, so next Wednesday. With that being said, let's just get this race underway here. Like, share, and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content, full race live streams, live commentary live streams for both for real races, NASCAR video games as well. Jerry Faznat, welcome to the stream. Happy to see you streaming again. I did stream yesterday, but it was the Busch Clash yesterday. Heat races at 3, and then we did the main event at 6, last chance qualifying races as well, so we had a great day with that. I'd like to thank everybody that came out, supported me, watched the race with me, listened to me commentate the race, whatever it was, joining into the stream. We had over 160 people at one point watching last night's Busch Clash race on the channel, so greatly appreciate that. A lot of new subscribers once again, so welcome. And if you are new to the channel, buckle up. We're about to get this race underway. It looks like our driver, Greg Biffle, will be starting in the last place position of the 19 cars. So this will be an interesting one. His teammate, Mark Martin, will be on the pole. So here are the rules. Again, the Budweiser Shootout field consists of all pole winners from the previous NASCAR season, which would be the 2003 season, means this is 2004. Each driver must make a 2-tire pit stop under green flag during the race. So only one segment. It is 70 laps, and you have to make a 2-tire mandatory pit stop, which you can't go 70 laps on fuel anyway, so we were probably looking at having to make a pit stop regardless. Green flag is in the air. We're underway, and Speed Weeks on the road to Daytona continues live on the channel. Greg Biffle has won the first 2 points races of both the Busch and the Cup Series seasons on this game. With our custom schedule season, now can he win the first exhibition race of the year? Went down to the inside 3 wide off the start. He was able to get by Michael Waltrip and Rusty Wallace before Wallace gets back to the outside. He still stays in front of Waltrip. He was very good on the super speedways in that DEI 15 car, so he may be one of the favorites today. He is also starting at the back. And Biffle won the Busch race at Daytona. So don't forget about that. That was on our custom schedule season, of course. Jimmy Johnson leads lap 1 despite the fact that it was Mark Martin on the pole. Little bump draft between the Roush Fenway teammates. A little stack up all of a sudden off the exit of turn 4. Biffle's on the brakes off the exit of turn 2, rather, not turn 4. And he bump drafts his teammate Jeff Burton as well. That was very odd. I'm not sure if there were some drivers that made contact up there or not, but everybody had a massive checkup. Well, they all stay pretty much in one giant pack, except for the fact that the top 2 cars have kind of pulled away from the rest of the field. With everybody making a 2-tire stop, it's going to be hard to go off strategy in this race to try and get back into it. But we'll see if anybody can do it. Biffle was able to make a pass on his teammate Jeff Burton, so there are 3 Roush cars at the back of the field right now. I believe all 5 of them make up the 19-car field. So over 25% of the field in this race are Roush Fenway Fords. Biffle will pass Jeff Green as well in that 43 car. contact that time off turn 2. Mark Martin nearly goes around. Biffle goes around trying to miss him, and he slides up in front of Labonte and Dale Jr. I hate the apron in this game. I don't know why it does that. Mark Martin was sideways, and then as soon as Biffle drove down to the apron and turned his car straight to the right, bringing out our first caution of the race, and that did not take long. I mean, Biffle had the 6 car missed when he took it 4 wide to the bottom, but the apron on this game is very slick, even on the straightaways, and that caused Greg Biffle to get involved in that accident. Now he's going to have to repair the damage to the front of the 16 car. Has some damage also to the right side of his race car. And whether you pit now, it doesn't matter. That mandatory stop has to be made under green. No fuel and tires going to be taken here. No adjustments to the 16, but definitely going to have to repair that damage early on. So Jimmy Johnson, who was leading, was kind of starting to get away with the pack, as well as whoever was in second place. Looked like it potentially was Joe Nemechek in the 0-1 for MBM, or MB2 Motorsports, excuse me. Kind of fell back there a little bit. They will have to now get rid of that bot down in the chat. Green flag back in the air, so Biffle right back to where he started in last place. Single file restart now. Green flag back in the air at lap 7. Now, hopefully he hasn't knocked too much speed out of the car. We don't really know exactly how much speed he has in this race car, regardless of the fact. Gets a great launch on the restart to get around Rusty Wallace. Michael Waltrip down to the inside of the Roush Fenway Fords of both Matt Kenseth and Jeff Burton. Biffle going to try to go up and block Wallace. Wallace scrapes the wall off the exit of turn 2. He got a little tight, even though they were getting up to speed. Biffle wanted to keep a car behind him, and I think the 16 is damaged enough. He's struggling to keep up with the pack now down the backstretch and heading into turn 3. He's too far back to draft his teammates. Turn 2 seems to be the treacherous corner in the early going of this race, though. We saw a stack up on lap 2, and then we saw the crash. Of course, on lap number 3. Biffle's probably going to have to let Rusty Wallace go so he can draft in line behind him. That was such a bad luck scenario for Greg Biffle. He had the wreck missed, but honestly, I usually only say this with NASCAR 21 Ignition, but it was the game that actually costed Greg Biffle there, because he was down on the apron and it just shot him straight to the right, and it wasn't like it was in the middle of the corner. I mean, he was in the middle of the backstretch. One car blowing up on the inside of the racetrack as they headed into turn 3, and that was Dale Earnhardt Jr., so he definitely one of the favorites. It was a great super speedway and restrictor plate racer throughout his NASCAR career, especially in the early to mid 2000s. And Dale Jr., one of the heavy hitters, is now done for the day. He's the first driver to retire for the race. Of course, he had some damage sustained from that first caution and that first accident on lap 3. Had to have hurt that race car at least a little bit. So Biffle lets Rusty Wallace go in turns 1 and 2, drops in line behind him on the back straightaway as they try to tandem together to work to the back of the lead pack. Three seconds off the race lead right now for Greg Biffle. Fuel window as it is going to be about 35 to 40 laps. So they will be able to make it on one stop. But they're going to have to go nearly 2 full runs. Again, with having to make a stop under green. You know, not everybody is going to pit until that window opens up. So they're pretty much all going to be pitting about the same time, because they can't stretch it much longer than the window itself to make it to the end of the race. Biffle getting a nice little run down the backstretch. Wallace caught the group in front of him, and look at Biffle rocket past the 2 of Rusty Wallace down to the back bumper of Jeff Burton. So Martin fell back after getting loose, even though he actually missed the accident, but it was him getting loose that kind of caused the stack up underneath him. And you have 4 Roush Fenway Fords pretty much all in a line with one another. Except for the fact Biffle was on the inside of Jeff Burton in the tri-oval to make the pass on him for 15th. Now he'll get underneath his other teammate, Mark Martin. and Burton follows Biffle to get by Martin as well. So Martin, after starting on the pole, is nearly back to last place. Look at Waltrip pulling out of line, almost making it 3 wide into turn 3. Instead, he'll just follow Matt Kenseth. Ooh, contact with Jeff Green. And now to the inside of Waltrip. That was a big run. Waltrip blocked the first move, but he couldn't block the second. Biffle's inside the top dozen. So 19-car field, but only 18 are left in the race, with Dale Jr. dropping out after that last restart with an engine failure. Massive run coming for Greg Biffle. He'll pass his teammate Matt Kenseth, flooring it into turn 3. The hammer down, and now trying to get to Tony Stewart, who is in 10th place. Biffle just gets underneath Stewart, who tried to throw a big block, but Biffle squeezes by. Cerebral Assassin, welcome to the stream. Biffle powers to the inside of Bobby Labonte. Down onto the yellow line. Biffle will roll past him and Dale Jarrett into turn 3. Now to 8th. Tell you what, even with the damage from that caution at lap 3, this 16 car is still pretty fast. Could be faster, but I don't think he's complaining much. Oh, we got a car blowing up in the middle of the tri-oval. It would be Jamie McMurray, pulls right down in front of Greg Biffle, who had to make an evasive maneuver to the outside, but still kept it off of Ryan Newman in the 12. And everybody makes it through unscathed. That's the second driver to blow an engine in the first 14 laps of the 70-lap Budweiser Shootout. Harvick looking low. Is he going to take it 3 wide into turn 3? He is. Under Elliott Sadler and Jeff Gordon, Greg Biffle to help. Tough break for McMurray. He was in the top 5. I'm sure Dale Jr. was up there too. He was at the top 10 earlier. McMurray still only on the backstretch. They'll probably catch him again this next lap. So Biffle now to 4th, clearing Jeff Gordon into turn 1. He had a little help from Elliott Sadler, and he's still drafting behind Kevin Harvick in the 29. Top 2 again kind of getting away after this restart. Much like the very start of the race, Jimmy Johnson has led every lap so far. Biffle trying to keep this undefeated streak alive. I know it's not a points race, but still be cool to keep this winning streak going. And obviously when you get to the super speedways, that's probably going to be the hardest task. McMurray way out of the way, down to the bottom of the racetrack, but at least he's using every bit of that apron trying to get into the pit lane. Biffle almost a second and a half back. He is pretty much tandeming with Kevin Harvick in the 29. Trying to break away from the cars behind him. Elliott Sadler and Ryan Newman were also able to get by Jeff Gordon that last lap, so Gordon has lost about 4 positions in a lap to a lap and a half. I believe dropping him back to 7th currently on the grid. They're trying to get Harvick to roll the bottom instead of the outside to middle lane in turns 3 and 4. Biffle's having to block Elliott Sadler to make sure that he doesn't lose a spot on the bottom lane, as it is a pretty much single file line through most of the field. Plenty of time, though, left in this race, as we have just over 50 laps to go. It might be a short race, but still a little bit longer than the dual race that we're going to see on Sunday on the channel. A double header this coming Sunday, with our Gatorade dual race kicking off at noon Eastern Standard Time, followed by the Daytona 500 for our NASCAR Chase for the Cup 2005 custom schedule season. So that's what our Sunday looks like next week, and the rest of the weekly streaming schedule will be up on the channel later tonight. You definitely tell Harvick and Biffle are closing in on second place at least, but as far as the interval to race leader Jimmy Johnson, they're staying at about an even 1.3 to 1.5 seconds back, and they're not really closing in. It's like Ryan Newman and Jeff Gordon starting to link up a little bit. Sadler's keeping pace with the 29 and the 16 in 5th. Sadler coming in off a top 5 at the Dodge Raceway in our second race of the season for points. Again, this is not going to be the first race of the year come the Daytona 500 on this custom schedule season. We ran the Daytona Road Course and then the Dodge Raceway already. We're going to alternate through the different camera angles for the first time in our Budweiser Shootout when we get back to the start-finish line. Massive run in the tri-oval. Biffle to the bottom, just gets underneath of the 29 of Kevin Harvick, clear into turn 1. And his teammate Kurt Busch is actually the driver in second right now. So that's why Biffle made that move underneath Harvick as quickly as he did. He'd rather work with his teammate Kurt Busch if he can help it. And it looks like he's going to be able to pull in line right behind him down the back straightaway. They are less than a second off Jimmy Johnson for the race lead. Johnson's had a pretty casual run so far through the first 20 laps, even after surviving that, not only the start, but also the restart in this race. Remember, he didn't even qualify on the pole. It was Mark Martin who started first. I guess drew the pole. There's no actual qualifying for this event. And the Roush cars are definitely a lot faster together than what Harvick and Biffle were, Chevrolet and a Ford. So the manufacturer and teammate alliance working out here. Most of the other Roush Fenway Fords are outside the top 10, as we saw at the start of the race between Jeff Burton, Mark Martin, and Matt Kenseth. Of course, Biffle started at the back as well. So outside of Kurt Busch, well, I guess Newman had Martin had a pretty good draw as well. Unfortunately, he just didn't fare too well. Biffle gets really tight off turn 4. He never lifted, but he almost ended up in the wall. That was a pretty close call, honestly. Joshua Rumsey, welcome to the stream. Someone thought you were crazy to pick Logano for the Clash to win yesterday. I don't think that was a crazy pick. I don't think he was the favorite. I mean, he was pretty fast in qualifying, obviously. And that helped him out big time. Pretty much everybody that did well in qualifying did well in the race. That's how much the track position mattered. How hard it was going to be to move through the field, especially if you started a little bit deeper in the field. Plus, it was only a 150-lap race, which on a quarter-mile short track is not long at all, especially by Cup Series standards. So it seemed like Kurt Busch, Greg Biffle were closing in on Jimmy Johnson for a little bit, but now they're not really closing in as much anymore. They got to within 0.7 of a second, and that was about it. It was me during the what did I say about Logano during the pre-race? I didn't say you were crazy for that. There's no way I said that that was a bad pick or anything like that. I think I said it was a little bit of a weird one. I probably said it was a little bit of a weird one because he didn't qualify, or he qualified well, but he wasn't that great in practice. Because that's kind of the same thing I said about Kurt Busch, too. He was a little bit faster in practice, but didn't qualify well. I don't think I said it was a bad pick. There's no way I said that. The only bad picks that I would have had for winning yesterday's race would have been Martin Truex Jr. or either of the Roush Fenway guys. Or the Roush Fenway Keselowski guys. Because they did not look fast at all going into the event. Those are my don't haves. If they were a don't have, then I definitely would say that, yeah, I would have said that that would have been a crazy pick. But there's just, I just don't see if... Ugh. Ethan, welcome to the stream. I am using Greg Biffle for this season. This is still a custom schedule season. We are approaching the Daytona 500. So that is why I am doing the Budweiser Shootout leading up to that. Later on this coming weekend, we'll be running the 500 in the duel. Jimmy Johnson has such a dominant car. He has to have the fastest car in the field. The fact that Kurt Busch, Greg Biffle, Kevin Harvick are drafting with each other, they cannot catch that 48. We're going to be seeing some green flag pit stops very soon, though. Probably within the next 10 laps, we'll start to see him. Oh, Harvick bounced off the wall off turn 4. Another car down on the bottom of the track. That is Terry Labonte. He wasn't up in smoke. There's another car up here. So I think we're seeing some drivers pit for the first time. It's a little strange to pit now because they're not in the fuel window to make it to the end of the race. So that is very interesting. Jimmy Johnson may be pitting this time too, the way he pulled down to the bottom. No, he's not. Never mind. Yeah, I'm not sure why there were a couple cars that pitted already. I guess they may be able to make it on fuel. We have 43 laps to go at the line. I didn't think anybody could go that far on fuel, but maybe they can. And that's why they pitted. Again, it is a mandatory 2-tire pit stop. So, right sides only will be the call on the 16 team. Hopefully they can have a fast stop to try to jump the 48, who's about a second ahead of him. Because right now, Kurt Busch is having a tough time trying to lead both himself and Biffle up there. Biffle tight again into turns 1 and 2. He had to lift that time. Otherwise, he probably would have ended up in the wall. He's definitely struggling with the handling. Now, taking right sides only will probably loosen the car up just a bit. Left side should make it 70 laps at Daytona, you would think. I know this is a much bumpier surface compared to what we're used to now, but you would think if it's a mandatory 2-tire stop that the left sides would be able to make it. Of course, these guys can pit under caution if they want. They just have to make a green flag stop at some point. So honestly, for the drivers that just pit, if they could stay on the lead lap in front of Jimmy Johnson, which I don't think they were able to, they would probably be the best case scenario because they could actually cycle to the lead. But they are not on the lead lap. Now, also, best case scenario, or worst case scenario, is they would get trapped a lap down if we see a caution right now. Unless, of course, that one driver who was the first car 1 lap down would get the free pass. Yeah, there were definitely a few mechanical failures yesterday that felt bad for Tyler Reddick. Especially leading the race and just dropping out with an issue like that, under caution. It wasn't even like during... He didn't have any issues when they were actually racing, but it was during the yellow where he Ended up having the issue shifting under caution. Johnson's even kind of pulling ahead from these lap cars who have a little bit fresher tires. 40 laps to go at the line. Jimmie Johnson has led the first 30. Harvick's got a big run on the inside. Biffle couldn't get the turn in the car to go down and block him. Luckily, Harvick didn't get there. We're almost halfway home already in this Budweiser shootout. Of course, it's only 70 laps, but that's even with the caution we had early in the race at lap 3. Kind of stunted the growth of the race pace. So they work their way back to the start-finish line. We'll go to the far chase cam at least until Biffle ends up making his pit stop here, as he still continues to draft with teammate Kurt Busch. 0.8 of a second off the race lead. Now he's got another teammate, Matt Kenseth. There's a little bit fresher tires than him. Even they're kind of pulling away, and I guess Johnson's using a little bit of that draft. Harvick that time got to the inside of Greg Biffle. And Biffle will take the run under Busch, and he's up to second place. This is as high as Biffle's been in the running order tonight. Finally pulling out of line to make the pass. Hopefully it wasn't too early, but you notice the 17 was starting to kind of pull away. So it was going to be now or never before the pit stop at least. Kurt Busch will now be the push car. So he was able to keep Kevin Harvick back behind him still. And Biffle will try to lead this 3-car group to race leader Jimmie Johnson before the pit stops. I don't think Biffle's able to do it. It looks like he's a little bit out of range to draft with Matt Kenseth. Biffle's so close. I mean, he gets a little bit of draft down the straightaways, but he can't really get it in the corners because he's not close enough. Kurt Busch now trying to carry a run, and Biffle's going to throw a block in the tri-oval. Back to the top. Harvick to the bottom. He's trying to get underneath Kurt Busch. They almost make contact off of turn 2. Just about got into one another. Lap cars are side by side up there, and Johnson's starting to pull away from him just a bit because of it. Biffle's now 1 second off the race lead. I think he's just going to stay in second until he gets to a stop. We'll be halfway this time by, and we'll have 35 laps to go, as well as 35 laps complete. Harvick to the top with the run. Biffle did not go up and block him. He's just going to hold on to the bottom. Looks like Elliott Sadler's starting to close in. Sorry, no, that's Terry Labonte. If it's Sadler, he will be for position, but if it's not Sadler and it's Terry Labonte, Labonte came out of the pits already and is a lap down. It is Elliott Sadler. So Harvick now will jump to second. Biffle pulls up in front of his teammate Kurt Busch. Sadler out of nowhere now to the inside of Busch for 4th place. Second and a half off the lead as Biffle now drafts with Harvick. Might be able to go a little bit past lap 40 because of the caution. Biffle's definitely not going to stretch the tank too far if he can help it. Billy Kramer, welcome to the stream. If we'll get a little sideways off turn 2. Still was able to get around Kevin Harvick down the backstretch, which is actually pretty impressive. Going way up the track to try and block. He nearly went into the wall. And Sadler now to the inside of Harvick. And Elliott Sadler's got a massive, massive run. Biffle blocking back down to the bottom. In this battle for second place, Sadler clears Harvick back up to the outside. Sadler backing up to get a run now to the 16. The 4-car pack, 2nd through 5th, all battling for position. I don't think it'll be... I mean, honestly, the Super Speedway package we've seen in recent years, pretty much since, like, 2019 after the 500, contact, Biffle again into the wall. Back down into the side of Elliott Sadler as well. Hangs on to 2nd. That's going to drop these guys 2 seconds back behind Johnson now after Biffle got tight. 3 wide for 3rd, almost. Sadler pulls down to block Kurt Busch. Biffle still trying to get his momentum back. But anyway, what I was saying, I don't think it's going to be, you know, much better if it is better. I thought the most recent Super Speedway package over the last couple of years was honestly the best I've seen in NASCAR. Oh, Sadler in the wall. Off of turn 4 now, and he'll stack everybody up behind him as Kurt Busch and Harvick had to lift to keep from running over each other. Only allowing Jimmy Johnson to get away even further. It's going to be tough to have a fast enough pit stop if you're Greg Biffle to cycle out ahead. We know everybody's going to have to make a 2-tire stop. As of right now, I'm not going to say we're going to see a surprise winner, but my pick could change between now and when the 500. So I have to see the duels first, at least to see who's got the fast car for the weekend. Sadler might have gotten into the wall off turn 4, but he's still able to get to the outside of Greg Biffle. He's not clear yet. Oh, Busch gets into the wall now in the tri-oval. Everybody's all over the place. Quarter tank of fuel left. Sadler with a big time block down to the bottom as they enter into turn 1. 2.8 seconds off the race lead now. And Ryan Newman and Jeff Gordon now have caught this pack, so 2nd through about 7th are all under a blanket. While race leader Jimmy Johnson's got a 2.6 to 2.7 second lead. And has led all 40 laps. Is he going to be the favorite for the Daytona 500 when we get there next weekend? The way he's running right now in this Budweiser Shootout. So far, so good for him. No, qualifying's Wednesday night. Not this Wednesday, but the following. It's the Wednesday before the 500. Just like it was last year. I believe they'll have a practice session that Wednesday evening as well before the actual qualifying. 50-minute practice session. Some of the lead group just hit pit road that last time by. Lap 43. Biffle's got to run. Looks high. Desperate move to go to the outside to get around Elliott Sadler in the 38. He wanted to pull down, had the chance to pull down clear, but the car's so tight right now that he couldn't quite get it to roll the way he wanted to. Still side by side, and he had a little help from teammate Kurt Busch that time. Biffle was able to complete the pass on Elliott Sadler. There's Martin coming out of the pit lane. Sadler will hang on to third, it looks like. Power move for Biffle on the outside. But again, he did have a little help from his teammate Kurt Busch going with him. 11 likes on the stream right now, 13 people watching. Thanks for everybody tuning in and hitting that like button. Subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. Some new viewers, I'm sure, to the channel after yesterday's Busch Clash commentary live stream. Jimmie Johnson still on the racetrack. We still haven't seen a caution since lap 3. Interesting to see if they'll be able to make it to the end of the race without another one. There's only 17 cars left on the track because 2 of them have DNF'd. Jamie McMurray and Dale Jr. have blown engines since the caution flag. I don't think anybody was taken out during the yellow. Could be possible that somebody did get taken out. One car down on the bottom. Dale Jarrett still trying to get up to speed. Oh, Kurt Busch gets trapped behind him. Now Jarrett will go to the outside to try to get out of their way, but he already kind of stalled out the 97 and the 38. They'll be coming into the pits this time. Biffle will pit. Late decision. Oh, he locked up the tires. That's not what he wanted. Remember, it's a mandatory 2-tire stop. So it'll be right side tires only for Greg Biffle in the 16. They'll top off on fuel, they'll repair whatever damage they can, and no adjustments to the 16 car. Our lone stop of the day. And they need no mistakes. It's going to be tough to cut in 2.8 seconds on Jimmie Johnson's lead. But we'll see. Topping off on fuel, a 9.9 second stop. Biffle will easily come out ahead of the other drivers that pitted with him. Jimmie Johnson still on the track, has not pit yet, and in fact, there are only 2 cars that still have to make their stop as Biffle now will get up to speed heading into turn 1. Johnson's still on the track and has still led every lap. Unbelievable. He might lead all 70 laps tonight. That's impressive to be able to do that with a caution, with green flag pit stops on a super speedway. We'll have to see how fast his pit stop was. Biffle had a pretty fast stop. He's definitely still on the lead lap. He's not the only one, though. Johnson probably staying out in case we get a caution. Trap a lot of cars lap down, but where he'd be in trouble is if we do get a yellow, because there are some cars on the lead lap, and he would still have to pit. He wouldn't have that 1 lap advantage on everybody. But Johnson is in the pit lane now, and I would assume that second place is also on pit road. Johnson leading that lap that time by, so he's led the first 47. Bobby Labonte also in the pits with Johnson. He was involved in that first accident. This is the moment of truth. Will Greg Biffle cycle to the lead at Daytona in the Budweiser Shootout? Labonte and Johnson still on the front stretch. They are off the pit lane, trying to get up to speed. Biffle to the start-finish line, and I think he is easily going to get there. There's Bobby Labonte. Biffle to second again. Jimmie Johnson now working his way in the middle of turns 1 and 2. What a stop by the 16 team. They have made up the 2.8 second deficit, and they will cycle ahead of Jimmie Johnson down the backstretch as Johnson gets up to speed on the bottom of the track. New leader for the first time in the Budweiser Shootout. It is Greg Biffle in the 16. He's had an awesome start to the season in both the Busch and Cup Series custom schedule seasons on this game, winning each of the first 2 points paying races at 4 different racetracks. One at Daytona in the Busch Series, as well as Bristol, Cup Series at the Daytona Road Course, and Dodge Raceway. Dark horse pick is Justin Haley for the 500. That is a pretty good underdog pick, if I do say so. It's a great super speedway racer. Colleague in general is great on the super speedways in the Xfinity series, so we'll see how they'll do in the Cup side. But they had some speed this weekend. I mean, Allmendinger was in the top 10 all day. He was running like 8th to 10th most of the main event. That was even after having to run the LCQ. Haley won his heat race, qualified third. Big run for Jimmie Johnson to the outside. He is definitely... He has to have the superior car in the field. I mean, let's be honest. He has led all but one lap, and that one lap he didn't lead was that last lap. Biffle led. And Johnson just blows around Greg Biffle on the outside. And that left front now in the yellow. But can Biffle stay in the draft of Jimmie Johnson is going to be the big question. Lap 50, 21 laps to go in the Bud Shootout. Biffle has a gigantic run into turn 1. Looks low. Johnson couldn't throw the block in time. Biffle back to the lead. Can he clear? He's not clear yet. Now he's clear. This could be a good battle between the 48 and the 16 to the end of the race. Lugo, welcome to the stream. Is that like the whale? These two battle too much. Somebody else might get into it. Speaking of into it, Biffle just tagged the wall. Off the exit of turn 4, 20 to go. Biffle leads his second lap of the night now. Ty Dillon got karma. Yeah, you can't wreck almost every car in the field and expect to get a break with your calls on jumping the restarts. Johnson to the lead, Biffle down to the bottom. Oh, he gets into the 48, into turn 3. Knocks him up out of the way. Desperation move from Greg Biffle to the inside in turn 3. That's going to give Biffle about a 1 second lead. Johnson still in second, but now the pack has caught up to the 48 all of a sudden with 19 to go. And he's going to have an even bigger run to the back of the 16 when they get there. And Biffle's going to have to hold off more than just the 48, so the runs will be a lot bigger from now to the finish. So a pretty calm race outside of the start. Things were kind of jumbled up. They calmed down. We got through the pit stops. Now it's time to go. There are no points on the line tonight. These guys are going to be going all or nothing for this win. Nothing to lose. Trying to get as much knowledge as they can for the 500 next weekend. In the dual race, of course, leading up to it. Jeff Gordon, Jimmie Johnson, potentially going to work together for the first time today. First time they've been close to one another. No manufacturer alliance, though, with Greg Biffle. There are 3 Chevys and a Dodge behind him. Next Ford is Elliott Sadler in 6th. Haley Deegan is not running the Daytona 500. I don't know where you got that from. Should be in the truck race. Full time this season again. But in like 5 years, okay. Just gotta say, we don't need some false information there. No, Haley Deegan hasn't even made an Xfinity start yet. Harvick to the outside, clears Jimmie Johnson. Gordon actually down on the bottom with Harvick rather than his teammate Johnson. A lot of these guys have not led. Remember, Biffle's only led about 4 laps now in this race. Jimmie Johnson's led the other 50. 49, I guess, to be exact. But these are the most important laps as we get closer to the end. 16 to go this time by. And will they make it to the checker, or will we see the big one? So this pack is getting pretty racy. Gordon with a run. Biffle blocks it on the outside. Sadler cuts underneath the 24. But now the two Hendrick Chevys were on the outside, and now actually Johnson was passed by Harvick. It looked like off the exit of turn 2. He pulls to the bottom, now back to the top. So 3 Chevys on the outside, then you have 2 Fords and a Dodge on the bottom. 15 to go in the Bud Shootout at Daytona. This race could end under a caution. You never know. Not right now if we saw a yellow, but if we get in the final 5 laps, could end it. We've only seen 1 caution so far tonight. This is as aggressive as things have been and will get the more laps we click off. Right now it is 6 cars under a blanket looking for the win. Sadler up to second. Greg Biffle trying to remain perfect between the Busch and Cup Series season combined. Even in the non-points race, what a year it has been so far. Sadler and Gordon kind of backed off a little bit. Ryan Newman pulls up in front of him. Newman's got to run to the top. Ryan Newman, the Rocket Man, with help from Jeff Gordon. And now Gordon pulls to the middle. Sadler's on the outside. Middle lane starting to drop back. Gordon didn't get any help behind him. Sadler moves back down in front of the 24. But it's Biffle and Newman side by side for the lead. And Biffle looks as if he's going to hang on. Clear off turn 4. That was a close call. Almost lost the lead that time, but he had a lot of help from the fastest car in the field, Jimmy Johnson, right behind him. Biffle's kind of getting out ahead of these guys into turn 1. But they are 2 and 3 wide behind the 16. Johnson with the run. He's gotten around the 48 once. He's going to try to do it again. Biffle going to go up the track to try and side draft him. He's going to pull him back a little bit. Help on the bottom from Harvick, and now Kurt Busch is in the lead pack. Door to door for the lead. Johnson clear off of turn 4 as he almost gets into the wall. And now Kevin Harvick is down on the bottom of the racetrack. He's trying to get a run. Biffle on the outside lane. He has a run. Oh, big block on Kevin Harvick. Harvick's hard into the outside wall as they're crashing behind, but we stay green. Oh, man, that was a terrible move by Greg Biffle as he thought he had enough room to squeeze between the 29 and the 48. He did not. Biffle made a gigantic save. I mean, gigantic, but fortunately, Harvick and others got up into the outside wall, leaving Jimmy Johnson to pull away again. He has had the fastest car. He's led all but about 6 laps. Well, IDK player, welcome to the stream. I'm not sure if you said before you ask, I am the real. I don't know if that means you are the real or not still. But whether you are or not, welcome to the stream. Well, if there's one driver who could run down the 48, it may be Jeff Gordon in the 24. He's got 10 laps left this time by to do it. Patrick Shadley, welcome to the stream. You're just in time for the finish. Johnson has dominated all race, but if there's, again, one driver that has the power underneath the hood of their race car, it is Jeff Gordon to try and run down Jimmy Johnson. Biffle is tandeming with him after he nearly took out the entire field behind him with a bad block on Harvick to try to get back to the bottom into turn 1 for second. They're creeping in on the 48. Gordon had a launch off of turn 4. Kind of pulled away from Biffle. Biffle going to try to reel him back in the tri-oval. 9 to go. And it looks like he'll be able to do so. Six-tenths of a second back. Gordon and Biffle are closing in. Kurt Busch trying to stay with his teammate Biffle. Otherwise, the Hendrick duo might pull away from the Biff. So you have 2 Roush Fenway Fords against 2 Hendrick Chevys. If that doesn't scream 2004, I don't know what else will. But that is what we have on the line here at the end of this Budweiser shootout. Who will take home the trophy? And the $200,000 paycheck. Gordon's got a massive run to the back of the 48. Biffle is going to pull out a line on Gordon. Gordon tried to block, but he couldn't get down in time. Biffle's up to second. Now can he carry the momentum to the back of the 48? Seven laps to go, this time by. And Biffle has a run in the tri-oval. Looking high. Johnson to block. Back to the bottom after Johnson got away. Looked like he had the race won. Biffle down to the bottom. He gets sideways. He gets into the 48 and Johnson's up into the wall. That was very similar to what happened earlier on in the race when those two battled about 20 to 21 laps to go and they made contact. Same spot of the racetrack. Biffle's in the lead. Gordon moves through to second. Biffle's been all over the place. He's looking like Ty Dillon in the Clash yesterday. Excuse me. We have another car blowing up on the inside off of turn 4. It looked like it may have been Matt Kenseth, but I'm not entirely sure. So third driver now to have an engine failure in tonight's race. 6 laps to go at the line. Will the race end under green? It could potentially end under caution. The way these guys have been racing here in the final 20 laps, it may. Gordon threw a massive block on Kurt Busch for second. Backing up now to get a run. Johnson's not out of it yet, back and forth. I don't think anybody's out of it the way these guys have ran so far. Kurt Busch underneath Gordon. Can he make the pass? Biffle gonna go down with his teammate. 5 to go. Biffle hasn't had the fastest car. That would be the 48 of Johnson. I'm still looking out for him. Kurt Busch is clear though off turn 2. He moves up in front of the 24. So now will the Roush teammates work together? It is a non-points race, so it may be every man for himself. Biffle had to throw a block. Johnson and Gordon to the inside. Kurt Busch to the top. Kurt has a bit of a run, but he doesn't have that much help behind him. Kurt gets into the wall off of turn 4. That stacks up the 48 of Johnson behind him. Kurt Busch with a major mistake. 4 laps to go, and now it's a 2-car breakaway between Greg Biffle and Jeff Gordon. 4-time champion versus just a 3-time Cup Series winner at this point in our season. And can Biffle, the young gun, pull it off? Kurt was able to hold on to 3rd place on Jimmy Johnson. They may still have a chance to get back to the 24 and the 16, but with no help for Gordon, it's going to be a lot harder for him to pull off the run. Three laps is a long time, though, around Daytona. Oh, big block! Big block off of turn 4. Biffle nearly wrecked them both. That's going to drop the momentum off of both Jeff Gordon and Greg Biffle. 3 to go. And that's actually going to drop the 24 back to the 97 of Kurt Busch, so there will be a little bit of drafting help. But you can see out of the rearview mirror on the top of your screen, little dark specks getting a little bit bigger even behind both the 24 and the 97. A lot of drafting help back there. I think it's going to be condensed together once again by the time they get to the checkered flag. Biffle's been struggling with a tighter car most of the night. He gets the rotation that time. And Gordon's in the wall off of turn 4. He gets tight. And that will give Kurt Busch second place to the line. 2 to go. If we get to the white flag, the next flag would be the checker. There are no cautions in this game on the final lap. Gordon back to the inside of Busch. Bobby Labonte's up to 4th place. He hasn't led a lap all night long. And he was involved in that accident back on lap 3. What a comeback this could be for Bobby Labonte. Johnson in 5th, right behind the 18. And as they come to the white flag, there's a lot more drafting help. Biffle gets tight. He's in the wall off of turn 4, but he hangs on to the lead. Stays in the gas. 1 to go. Next flag will be the checker. Labonte has a run to the inside. Bobby Labonte, out of seemingly nowhere, has not led all night long. He's trying to get to the lead. Contact. Biffle pinches the 18 down on the track and holds on to the lead. Gordon now with a run to the outside. Kurt Busch behind the 24, the 48 behind the 18. Matt Kenseth out of nowhere is in it. Biffle gets tight again. He's in the wall. He goes back down the track. He turns Labonte. Labonte's upside down. Labonte's upside down. Gordon wrecks off of turn 4. He spins into Kurt Busch, the big one at Daytona as they come to the checker flag. Who will get there first? It may be Jimmy Johnson. Oh my goodness. Jimmy Johnson wins the Budweiser Shootout as they're still wrecking further back in the pack. Fireworks at the end of this one. Oh my goodness. Have you ever? That looked like the 2011 Xfinity race. Jimmy Johnson wins on a last lap pass. That was something. I don't know what I just saw, but that was something. I wish they had a full replay system in this. We'd definitely go back and rewatch it. We'll try to find it, but oh my god. Bobby Labonte flipped while leading in the middle of 3 and 4. He was on the left side of his race car riding the wall, and he had the lead for like an eternity before Johnson got through the mess. That in real life would be excellent. As long as everybody would get out of their cars safely, yes. Oh, we need to try to see that again. I mean, there was no points on the line. I guess Biffle is still undefeated with it being a non-points race, but that was in turns 1 and 2 between Labonte and Biffle on the final lap. Then Biffle got into the wall, came back down the racetrack, turned Bobby Labonte hard into the outside wall. And then they were 3 wide for the lead with Biffle sandwiched between the Hendrick Chevrolets of Johnson and Gordon, and Biffle had so much damage on the right side of his car, he drifted up into Gordon, and Johnson got through on the bottom. Once I hit the wall, it was on from there. I mean, I had no control over the car at that point. I was just so tight, almost that entire, not the entire race, pretty much from like lap 20 on through the run, I was tight. And then you had to take 2 tires on the mandatory 2-tire stop, so I took right sides only. So the left sides were still the same tires from the start of the race, so I was a little tighter for most of that final run. That was a shootout, to say the least. The name lived up to the hype. That has to be the most wild finish I think we've had on the channel in 2022 so far. Just over a month in. And this wasn't even a points race. I mean, that's the craziest thing about it. It wasn't even... Could you imagine if our Daytona 500 ends like that on Sunday? I feel bad I lost, because it's been a while since I've lost on this game, but... I was holding on for dear life. The runs were too gigantic. Glad you joined. You joined at the right time. Just out of clarification, that is not the real IDK player down in the chat. I went to the channel. Just to double check, but he gave me a heart attack. It was not a points race. He didn't have to... Too young to have a heart attack. That was crazy. We need to look at the top finishers. Jimmy Johnson deserved to win this race. I mean, he dominated the race. He by far had the fastest car. He'll be one to look out for in the 500 on Sunday, as well as the dual race leading up to the 500. Matt Kenseth will bring it home in second. I mean, look at the guys who didn't lead a lap that were up there at the end. Kenseth, Gordon, Harvick, Kurt Busch, Michael Waltrip, 6th. Ryan Newman, 7th. Elliott Sadler, 8th. 9th was Greg Biffle, who led 15. So Biffle and Johnson were the only two leaders this entire race. And then Jeff Green rounds out the top 10. Great run for that 43 car. I want to see where... that was Terry Labonte, who finished 12th. Mark Martin, 11th. Jeff Burton, 13th. Rusty Wallace, 14th. Bobby Labonte finished 15th. He did not finish last after flipping. He did finish ahead of Dale Jarrett still. Tony Stewart blew an engine there late, so it wasn't Kenseth. Which would make sense, because I did see Kenseth in that lead pack on the final couple laps. But, yeah, so Tony Stewart blew an engine, was 7 to go. Jamie McMurray and Dale Jr. we saw blew an engine early in the race. But yes, Bobby Labonte finished not last car on the lead lap after flipping on the final lap while leading. He had the lead going into turn 3, then he ended up on his lid, and it was mayhem from there. Oh my gosh. That's one I need to go back and watch again. I wish we had a better replay camera. We could have slowed it down. Well, I'll try to find the replay one more time. It doesn't show the entire crash, but there it is. Into the wall, down the track, into Labonte. Labonte up, upside down. And then Biffle and Gordon in the wall. And you can kind of see cars spinning down on the bottom of the track and limping it back to the checkered flag. I'm glad that there are no cautions on the final lap in these EA Sports games, because that's how we had that finish. Otherwise, we would have had a caution as soon as Labonte flipped, and who knows what... I mean, they would have had to freeze the field probably when the next guy took the lead, which would have been really close between Biffle, Gordon, and Johnson, but at least we got to see him race it out to the checker flag traditionally. I'm ready for your Daytona 500. Yeah, I mean, that was an insane finish, and I mean, that makes me pumped for next weekend for the 500 as well. That'll be Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Our Gatorade dual race before the 500 will be Sunday at noon. So I have to run those back-to-back. So we'll have a doubleheader on Sunday. Tomorrow night's live stream on the channel, we'll go NASCAR 05 racing once again. It will be a Busch Series race at Nazareth. So our third race of the season for the Busch Series at Nazareth. Tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. It was a fun race, to say the least. Can't wait to see what happens tomorrow with the Busch race at Nazareth. We'll see if Biffle can stay undefeated in the Busch Series. Thank you, everybody, and I will see you guys later. Have a good rest of your evening. Also, check out the race highlight video I have from yesterday's Busch Clash on the channel with my commentary over it. Uploaded that earlier on in the day. So if you haven't checked that out, check it out. And comment down below after the stream, you know, what you thought of this race. That really helps the streams out as well. It helps these videos and the algorithm out. So comment down below your final thoughts, not in the chat, but in the actual comment section below this video, because I like to see what each and every one of you think. You can see you guys in the chat going nuts, but my goodness, that was something. We've never had that on the channel. This channel is almost 2 years old now. It'll be 2 years old in a couple weeks, so I mean, we may never see that again. We'll live in the moment. Have a good night, everybody. Catch you tomorrow at 6.